And welcome, folks, to episode 42 of the Ministry of Dice podcast. We're a UK-based podcast talking about all things Dice Masters in the UK. I'm Chris, otherwise known as True Mr. Six, and with me today I have Andy.
A.K.A. Gorgeous George.
Gorgeous George, that you are. I was saying to someone the other day that I've lost you to Apex Legends. I feel like a neglected wife right now.
Oh, I've been putting some time in. A few late nights I've had these last few weeks.
You're not so swift to respond to my messages, man. I'm feeling jilted, bro.
Oh, sorry, mate. I've been playing with my boys Rob Shaw. I've been playing with a chap called Chris Williams, who's a friend of mine, also called Chris Williams, but not the Chris Williams.
Not the true Chris Williams.
Not the true Mr. Chris Williams.
Yeah.
I've finally bullied Javier into buying a PS4, so it's my first game with him yesterday till 1 o'clock.
All right, very good.
Still rubbish at it. Still rubbish at it completely.
Well, it's a weird. I know we have a habit of starting off our Dice Masters podcast talking about other things. The reason I bring it up is because I thought you might have done an AKA that was Apex Legends related, AKA Bangalore or something. But it's a weird one. I can't get my head around this battle royale thing because having been a first-person shooter gamer for some years now, I'm used to that progression where you accrue better weapons and you build skills up so that every game you play as you move up the levels. It strikes me that Apex Legends, you just need to parachute in and hide in a corner and you'll just get loads of points for time survived.
Yeah, it's quite clever. It's the higher points is for your surviving. It's not your kills is actually quite lower experience points for it. But it's more fun, obviously, to charge around and try and kill people.
Well, that's it, yeah. It doesn't encourage you to actually get in the mix, does it? And your level doesn't then give you any benefit, necessarily.
No, it's more sort of a survival game. So it's about surviving to the end. And then getting pushed closer and closer together. So we do like a mix. We sometimes just drop in where everyone is and get killed straight away. Or you hide around the edges, get your guns up, wait till there's only a few people left, and then they come and kill you straight away.
What would a Dice Masters Battle Royale look like? just a load of us all parachute into like an abandoned warehouse and with cards in sleeves. Yeah, I found the bard. Yeah, who got the streak? Pinging them. Andy, I've got there's a streak over here.
Yeah, because you've dipped your toe in with the Apex Legends as well, haven't you?
I have, yes. Yeah, I have. I gave it a little bit of a go. I'm doing all right. I've been the champion a couple of times. Yeah, so if it goes cross-platform, because I'm an Xbox guy, then we'll have to hook up. I'll show you how it's done proper.
Yeah.
Like.
Definitely. Anyway,
so outside of console gaming, we're all about the tabletop gaming, specifically Dice Masters. What have you been up to this last 2 weeks since we spoke a fortnight ago?
Okay, well, non-Dice Masters, Apex Legends we've spoken about. I got in a couple of weeks ago a few games of Arkham Horror, the card game. I've spoken about it before. Great little game.
Yeah, you said you got some expansions recently.
What's that?
Didn't you say you'd bought some of the expansions recently?
I've got quite a few of the expansions. They're still in the checkout of a online store somewhere, but slowly kind of working way through the campaigns again. So I started at the beginning with a guy who's not played before and just got through the kind of starter pack. So next steps will be the first one, then I'll have to start buying them again. But it's a great game, nice little co-op game. I've waffled on about it, I'm sure, before, so I won't go on again. Last weekend, played a big game of Shadow of Brimstone, which again I've spoken about before.
Yeah.
Stinky Pedro, my Mexican bandido, with his dynamite and his strong arm that makes him throw it hard. He's doing well. He's got a big kind of disintegrator gun. It's quite cool. You start off in a cave or a mine, and then you go through like a warp tunnel. You end up in different places, and this time we ended up in like a sci-fi futuristic spaceship. Ooh. So even though they're little like Wild West characters, they're walking around this spaceship, which is a bit bizarre. So I've got like this big space ray gun, which then I keep for the next kind of game. So that'll be interesting.
Very good.
Coming up against cowboy opponents and shooting them with a ray gun should be interesting. And so that was my non-Dice Masters related gaming of the last couple of weeks. Dice Masters wise, what have we done? I had a little bit of training with your modern constructed. Is that what you were doing for your one big weekend, which you'll hear about? So I had a little bit of practice of that. That's boring as hell. And then played some.
Well, we should explain that comment. It's because
just boring as hell.
It's because I asked you to put together the filthy power team of you anti-list, didn't I? Super rare anti-list, because I wanted to test my team idea against what I consider to be the worst of the worst, right? The best of the best.
Yeah, I'd have to say fair play to anyone who has played the anti team for a tournament or a competition. Because after a few games of that, I was ready to stab my eyes out with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, they must have an incredibly high stamina for boredom.
Yeah, but on the flip side to that, we then had some games last week of MOD Modern.
The modern, yeah, we'll have a chat about that in a second as well. Absolutely.
Yeah,
very
cool.
Good. Very good.
That ties me up. How about you, mate?
Yeah, so on the non-Dice Masters game in front.
Dice Masters?
Yeah, I'm warming up for the Global Reverscalation later. I haven't played anything non-Dice Masters this last 2 weeks. It's been all Dice Masters all the time for me. So down at my local gaming store, my Tuesday night get-together at Element Games with the lads, we did, what was it last week? Ladies' Night last week, and then we did Modern this week.
It's the new big thing.
So a couple of the guys, hello, all right, gents. Hello. They have been listening to the podcast and kind of were switched on by, I suppose, the theory behind us playing with just the Avengers Infinity batch and the Warhammer 40k batch around. Let's get familiar with the more modern stuff. Should there be a rotation? Although I've got something to say about that in a sec. And so they wanted to give it a go, so we played that. And then we had our one big weekend event on Sunday. This was at Fanboy 3, Manchester City Centre, which was a modern constructed event. I've done a tournament report and put the team lists up on the BritRoller6.com blog if anyone wants to go and take a look at that. I came out top spot. Whoop, whoop. Yes, yeah, it was very close at the end. It came down to strength of schedule because me and 3 other players had the same result. But the strength.
Pembo?
Yeah, Pembo was in third. Mike Ryder had the same result, and Cleggy had the same result. So it came down to, I think the strength of schedule came down to me and Cleggy at the top end, and I came out top. So yeah, that was good. So I was very pleased to pick up the prize cards and get involved, and that now means I've got a entry into the online face-off as well as Cleggy as number 2. So we'll be looking forward to that. I did some playtesting games with our man Ben Scott. Good evening, Ben. That was testing out my modern constructed ideas for the upcoming 2-team takedown from CR Game Room. I've signed up to get involved in that online tournament that's about to kick off. So yeah, it's just been all Dice Masters all the while.
Very nice.
And then writing blog posts and editing audio and.
Yeah, I spent quite a long time editing backwards words this past week.
Yes. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's coming up in the show, shall we? So we've got a community focus coming up straight after this intro. It's been a pretty spoiler-tastic time in the world of Dice Masters, and there's also a few little other interesting tidbits that have been leaking out of the Gamma Trade Fest. We'll have a bit of a chat about that. Then, as promised in our last episode, we had some correspondence from Stu, our man Stu.art, asking us to do a team build around a card. So we've... I don't know if we've built a team so much as just rambled on about the card, but
rambled on mostly.
Maybe I'm using the word maybe in the strongest possible terms. You might find something useful in that, Stu. I don't know. And then we've got the third part now of the Andy's Q branch Global Reverscalation challenge. So we'll be revisiting that, and then by the time we've covered all that ground, that should bring us to the close of the episode. So quite a jam-packed, fun-filled, exciting journey once again. Yeah, absolutely. So without further, should we just get into it? I don't think is there anything more to say at this point.
No. Let's get on with the spoilers.
Let's get on with the spoilers. Yeah, absolutely. Right, into the community focus then, folks.
This is London calling. Here is the news.
Yes, welcome back, folks. And so, this week, as of time of recording, although it'll be last week by the time you listen to this episode, was a pretty spoiler-tastic week in the world of Dice Masters. Lots of stuff going on. So I don't even know where to begin. Where do we begin?
Where did these spoilers come from, Chris?
Many sources. Let's start with the solicits page, the Dice Masters solicits page, or WizKids solicits page. So earlier in the week, the guys over at DM North, that's Son of L, Jordo, and that other guy.
Beholder.
No, I don't think that was his name.
Huh.
They clocked on the solicits page that a new Spider-Man campaign box and a single team pack, there's only been one announced with this, not a second one, has appeared miraculously on the solicits page, and the Spider-Man set is called the Spider-Man Team Up campaign box, and lots of juicy things in the description there, but it mentions characters like Gorgon, Typhoid Mary, Heroes for Hire, Cloak and Dagger. Some of them revisits the cards that we've seen before, but some of them new. The team pack that they mention is the Spider-Verse team pack, and it sounds like it's going to have many of the characters that were in the movie that's not long been into the Spider-Verse, like Spider-Ham, which I think is really cool and quirky, Spider-Man Noir, which was voiced by Nicolas Cage, incidentally, in the film.
Was it?
Yeah. And Leopardon, I don't know who that is. I'm not familiar with Leopardon.
I'm going to take a guess that he's maybe like a leopardy man.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sorry, my encyclopedic comic book nerd knowledge does not extend to Spider-Man, I'm afraid. It's not a title that I've engaged with a great deal, so I don't know a lot in that space there. So if it's not been in a TV show or a movie, I'm not really with it. I suppose that's the first one, the solicits page, with 2 new sets announced. They're marked up as November 2019, and if you head on over to DM North and take a look in their newsfeed, you'll see the post with more details there.
Yeah, and if you believe that's coming out in November, well done.
Yeah, we love your optimism. Yeah. But the second batch of news, so this week is the GAMA Trade Fair, which I think Game Association Manufacturers something or other. Anyway, it's a game makers, publishers, distributors kind of convention thing going on out in the US of A. And much of the other news was coming out of GAMA.
Yo, Gabba, Gabba. Yo, Gabba, Gabba.
Yeah. So a few of our North American friends had... I don't know, contacts who were attending the convention and were
friend.
Were leaking news out once again. That North American advantage, boys. Although I was still up when the stuff started hitting Facebook.
Oh
yeah, sleeps for the week.
Surprised they didn't invite you over, guest speaker.
They did, man. They did, but I had, other commitments. It's just one of those things. If I accepted every guest speaker invitation that I received, I'd never have time to, podcast with you or do a job. So.
I play.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, when the Queen asked me to go down, I head down to see her, of course.
Well, yeah, you do that.
Yeah, give her a hug, she loves it.
Fist bumps for me.
Oh yeah, sure. I think I said, wasn't there a thing in the paper about that? I think I saw a picture of you.
Yeah, we've got this little handshake, this little kind of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air style handshake that we do. It's very cool.
Yeah, sure.
She is sick. Whack.
Yeah, she's definitely down with the kids. She knows what's the what.
Aye.
A little known fact for the listeners, actually, when in fact both the princes, when they were about to have their babies, when they fell pregnant, and they were looking for name suggestions, it was actually Andy here who they called up and asked for the name selection. Andy being quite, as everybody knows, quite a caper. He's got a lot of AKAs. He dove deep into his library of AKAs, and he sacrificed a few that he now shall not use on the podcast because he gave them to the princes to name their children. Yeah.
Harry was quite keen on Willie Fisterbottom, but Meghan overruled him.
Yeah, these Hollywood types, you see, they just don't get it.
No, they just don't get true Britishness.
Yeah. Onwards and upwards, though.
Spoilers then.
Spoilers, yeah. It was coming out of GAMA. There's a few bits hit Facebook, but if you guys head on over to Gaming with Sidekicks, Isaac and Stuart over there. Hello, Isaac. Hello, Stuart. I've got some probably the best quality pictures I've seen, but there's been a couple floating around. And there was some really juicy stuff in here. So we saw some card pics from the X-Men Forever, Dark X-Men and X-Force team pack release, which is, according to this, is due in May, which included Kitty Pryde, Rachel Summers, Hope Summers, Beast and Cyclops. Some of the game text is tough to make out, but it looks like there's definitely a strong kind of affiliation focus in there around the X-Men themselves. So it looks like Kitty Pryde and Cyclops, when I zoom in and squint and cock my head, it looks like they might discount fielding costs or purchase costs or something.
Yeah, it looks like Kitty Pryde is purchase cost. I don't know, they might both be purchase cost.
Well, I'm hanging on. Someone will turn up with some higher res images, hopefully, in the next couple of days. Maybe by the time this episode goes out on Monday. But the artwork looks great. I'm loving the artwork on there for sure. I like that Hope Summers with like energy hands. Kind of makes me a bit sad that we don't get them in foil anymore. That Rachel Summers with the feelings behind her would look really awesome in foil.
Yeah, Beast looks cool. Yeah, really nice artwork.
Yeah, absolutely. We've then got a sneak peek of a couple of cards from the Fracture of Biel-Tan, the Warhammer 40k release. That's, again, according to this, due in June. So we've got a Guardian there, who's like a Eldar dude with range. We've got a Demonite, which is, some kind of chaos demon thing, who forces sidekicks to block. And then a basic action called Recoup, which caught my eye because it's got a sidekick making global on a basic action.
Yeah, it's 2 energy, though, isn't it?
It is 2 energy, and it's only on your turn, I think, if I squint and cock my head once.
Yeah. And the ability, gain 1 life for each sidekick character die in your field zone.
Yeah, so interesting.
It's pretty nice, isn't it?
Interesting. Well, I suppose it's one of them. I mean, on my wish list that I did at the beginning of the year, I said a basic action with a sidekick making global would be useful so that you could take new PXG out of your core 8. You'd have your own mimic, so the level of advantage that the global's giving to your opponent as a basic action global. Actually, I'm talking bobbins there. Ignore that last comment, but still, it frustrates me that I have to fill up 2 to 3 card slots for that ramp in my core 8, Yeah. But looking good, looking good on the 40k front. Then there was, this is the really big news though, there's a D&D set in the pipeline called Trouble in Waterdeep.
That box looks cool as well, that artwork.
Yes, yeah, and there's 2 team packs with that, Adventures in Waterdeep and the Zentarim. So that's looking pretty exciting, and there was a couple of cards spoilt for that. The one I would like to particularly draw people's attention to is the one with the obscure keyword. Hang on, I've just moved off the window. Have you got it open in front of you?
Yeah, when you use an action die, this character is unblockable till end of turn. He's a 3 cost. Stats, right, 1/1/1, 1/2/1, 1/2/2. It's a 3 cost fist.
Yeah, but he's got Infiltrate,
like a fish man.
He's got Infiltrate as well, though, hasn't he?
He's also got Infiltrate as well.
Yeah, so, so get 2 or 3 of them out with a Black Widow from Guardians of the Galaxy. Fire off a cheap action like Throne Brick or Ping, and you've got, big Infiltrate damage, and you don't need your Angela, super rare Angela.
Oh,
see,
nice.
Mate, always thinking me. And then WWE, we saw the box. Now, news about WWE, it has been confirmed that the card images are going to be photographs, real shots of the wrestlers. Yeah, we did wonder if it was going to be artwork or not. Yeah, I know you say makes sense, but there's definitely some quite well-known WWE artists about. So that's a bit of news on WWE. And we've got the names of the team packs now. I don't know if they've been announced. Maybe they have been announced before, but it's tag teams and bitter rivals. But one thing of particular note with the WWE announcement is they've got a playmat listed.
Ooh. I hope Jimmy takes our idea of making it like a ring, so the attack zone use pile prep area is like a wrestling ring.
Well, who knows?
That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, who knows? Time will tell. But again, we'll find out in August, it says here, so we'll probably know by August next year. Yeah. So lots of spoiler-tastic stuff. So hit up Dice Masters Unlimited and have a mooch through the newsfeed there, or go over to Gaming with Sidekicks and have a look at those pickies. And if anybody's got better eyesight than me and wants to try and figure out those game texts, please do. I'd be interested to know. But the other news coming out of Gamma, which this one's a little bit sadder, was that there are no plans for Dice Masters WKOs in the pipeline at all. At least that seems to be the indication. Well, it's not very clear. It's a quote that, it's ended up on Facebook sort of third hand, like a guy who told a guy has told a guy in an instant message kind of thing. So the accuracy of it and the core source, who knows, could be hearsay. But if it is true, it'll be a shame.
Yeah, questions to be answered there.
Yeah, hence why in the intro I was saying, rotation. Is rotation that much of a big deal?
Does it matter?
Yeah.
Probably still be nationals events, don't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hearing word on that. There's a UK-based conversation about nationals and what's going to happen with that and what's going on there. I haven't got anything that I can speak about publicly at this stage, but there's conversations that appear to be ongoing. Again, though, it's like a guy spoke to a guy who heard it from a fella who knows who's the next door neighbour of the sister of the girl who babysits for Justin Ziran.
Oh, did you know him as well?
Yes, yeah. She babysits my pair sometimes too. So the accuracy of it all isn't, and sometimes it contradicts what we're hearing directly from WizKids ourselves, which is always a little concerning.
Well, we'll find out. I think we've proved with one big weekend and the MOD PDMs that we don't necessarily need them.
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I suppose it's just more about the kind of the unique pricing support. But we've got the OP sets coming down the pipeline, haven't we? So,
yeah,
if they ever get delivered over this side of the water. So, yeah, we'll just sort of figure things out for ourselves. We'll get online, But interesting news nonetheless. But I suppose it just reinforces that move to the tabletop casual approach.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, just looking at this box with the rock on the front. I mean, that's just screaming for, what's the word I'm looking for? Off the cuff purchase, isn't it? It's like you walk into a shop, you see it, you like WWE. Oh, that looks fun. Grab that. Maybe not grab anything else, but just have that and play at home and have your characters and your favourite pant wearing wrestlers and play it as a standalone, and then maybe go, oh, let's get a playmat to play with them. That'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So time will tell on the WKO front, but yeah, you're right. I think WWE is clearly positioned as Warhammer was to attract more attention and bring in more players to the game. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So there we go. So that's all the big news on the Dice Masters front from this last 2 weeks.
Loads of stuff, isn't it? They're certainly keeping it going. How many sets are due to be released now?
So what we got there? X-Men, Spider-Man, 40k2, WWE, and now the new D&D. 5. Each with a batch of accompanying team packs as well.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff coming our way.
And organised play kits planned up until the beginning of summer as well.
Coolio Beanios.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, for the naysayers out there, the outlook is looking more positive. Although I'm sure someone will come out in the woodwork and say, oh, they're just rushing all the product out before it dies.
There's no pleasing some people.
There most certainly is not. That reminds me of a great quote by Noel Gallagher once at the Brit Awards. He said, you won the award tonight, you're feeling happy. I said, am I feeling happy? I've won a Brit Award for the best album. I'm part of the biggest band in the world. I've got a Jaguar on my drive and I don't even know how to drive. I've got a big mansion in the countryside, a swimming pool, all the guitars, women and drugs I could ever want in my life. And you're asking me if I'm happy? No, I'm not. I want more.
He's a knob though, isn't he?
Yeah, but he writes a banging tune.
I always preferred the Venga Boys.
Well, okay then. We're just cut from a different cloth on that front, I suppose.
We waffling. Is it time to
yeah, time to move on. Time to move on. Okay, on to the next segment then, boys and girls. Yes, welcome back, dear listeners. And for this next segment now, we're going to address a little bit of listener correspondence. We got a message from our man Stu, Mr. Dixon, otherwise known as Stu.art, our resident UK blank card illustrator. And Stu has written to us and said, hey guys, wondering if you could help me with a modern team brew and maybe add to it as a section on the podcast. I'm trying to build around the uncommon enchantress from the TMT, the Mighty Thor set, and Instant War. I threw on an uncommon danger room to help clear the field on both mine and my opponent's turn. I also used the Orc knob that buffs from KO'd characters to punch in the face. It was a bit janky in playtesting and just wondered how you would build around Enchantress and Instant War. Thanks for the help and keep up the good work. And then he didn't write this, but it was implied. I think you're amazing. I listen to the podcast every day.
Every day?
Every day, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dedicated.
Thanks, Stu. Yeah, absolutely. So there we go, Andy. So we got that a little while ago, and we've been, for pun intended, we've been stewing over this one for a little while now. Hey. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. I suppose the first thing to bottom out is, what does Uncommon Enchantress actually do?
Do you want me to read her out?
Yeah, do your thing.
Cool. She is a 6-cost mask with a mystic affiliation. It's Enchantress, the Art of Seduction. Max 4 dice. Ability is, when Enchantress is active, when an opposing character die is fielded, that die deals 1 damage to all other opposing character dice. And her stats are 1, 5, 3, 1, 6, 3, 2, 6, 6.
Yeah, she's not a slouch in the stats department, is she?
No, she's not. She's good.
No. And Stu is trying to pair that up with Instant War. It's a basic action that a number of players will be familiar with, but it's from the Battle for Ultramar set, and that says each player draws 3 dice and fields all sidekick dice drawn this way. Each player places the remaining dice in their bag or used pile. So essentially then, the combo here is to get Enchantress out in the field. She forces your opponent to do 1 damage to all their characters whenever they field a character, and then using Instant War to essentially put them in a position where they have to field something, or as much as possible, I suppose, so that everything gets pinged. And then using the Uncommon Danger Room, which says, until the start of your next turn, when a character die takes damage, KO that character die. So do a minimum of 1, but maybe up to 3 on the Instant War, and clear their field down so that you can storm over with something. Either clear it down in their go, or force it down to happen using your Instant War in your turn. Yeah. So it's an interesting idea, absolutely. And I must admit, Stu and listeners, it's Danger Room, Uncommon Danger Room, and Instant War. And this kind of Danger Room board clear approach is something I've been playing around with for a while. I'm not sure I've cracked it yet. so my advice might be completely useless. But I suppose the first challenge there is the fact that Enchantress is a 6-cost.
Yeah, that's right. So you're looking at your ramp and your discount to get it out. You want to get it out pretty early. You want to get it out there so that it's doing its thing when your opponent's trying to kind of build up their characters, work out what they're doing, putting things in their field and causing mayhem. So we all know from Worlds this year that Captain Global paid 2 fists to make the next purchased one 3 cheaper.
Yeah.
And the Ring of Winter, pay a bolt and your 6 cost becomes a 4 cost or 2 less, is good for getting 6 costs out super quick. So you could go that route. Alternatively, you could go kind of the ramp route. So Mimic Ramp with Billy Club, we've spoken about this before, and your PXG, new PXG Global can get you up to the 6 dice needed pretty quick. And with a cheeky shield for a res, you've got that through next turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think both we've spoken about before, but both think applicable kind of in just getting that Enchantress out. You want to, I don't think it's not an end game finisher, really, is it? It's a get out, get early, get in the face, and start causing havoc whilst you try and work out the rest of your strategy to get your damage over.
Yeah, sure. And that's where the Orc Knob comes in, of course, because he gets +1/+2 for every character KO'd. So if you played the Instant War on your turn and forced your opponent then to KO down their characters, you're looking at them building up his strength. My recent experience of playing with the Orc Knob is that he doesn't quite just... I was finding I could get him up to maybe a +3 or a +4, making him a 6 or a 7 attack character, but not quite the big, the full-on big hit that you needed to finish an opponent off. Well, one thing I was wondering about, specifically about the board clear element of it, less so much about there just being a pain in the backside, wreaking havoc as you describe, was perhaps taking the Orc Knob out and looking at, if there's a lot of sidekicks floating around, for example, your instant war, you may be fielding sidekicks of your own, or if you're using something like Mimic Ramp to get yourself up to that 6 cost and you've got just lots of sidekick stuff going on, then maybe boosting the attack strength of those sidekicks could be a way to go. So cards like Wong, giving them all +1/+1, or Malekith, giving them +1/+1, or the Batman from the Harley Quinn set, which I think gives them +2 attack. So rather than trying to get a single character like the Orc Knob up to a big enough strength to do your big punchy hit, maybe take advantage of those sidekicks that you could be drawing out and fielding yourself as a result of the instant war, give them all +1/+1, and now your little 1/1 weenies become 2/2 weenies, and it's an accumulating effect. Or the Batman, he is a 5 cost, which again is a challenge for your ramp, because you're looking to buy a 6 cost, but he gives them +2 attack, so now you've got 3 attacking sidekicks, and they come to a total of 9 if you get 3 out.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Thanks, mate.
That's cool. On the same vein, Dum Dum Duggan, personal favourite.
Yeah, because you'll have a lot of sidekicks out getting boosted up.
Yeah, I mean, he can quickly be. Well, if you field 3 sidekicks with instant war, that's going to put him up. Obviously, +3. If you've got any others from Mimic and whatever else, at a 2 cost, it's going to be a quick, punchy way of doing a load of damage. Similar to the Orc Knob. Actually, I found that 1 or 2 just didn't quite do the business, or didn't at Nationals anyway.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, which is why I'm sort of looking at what are the resources that I've already got in front of me. I'm probably going to have lots of sidekicks about. Let's make lots of things get a little bit bigger rather than trying to get one thing really big, because it just, I don't know, I just found using it in my invitational team that Orc Knob, I just couldn't quite get him. I was always finding myself like, I've cleared the board, I can do an attack, and I'm 1 short. It's 19 and
Always
they're
19.
on 20 life or something, yeah. Or it happened to me against DM Armada. I was like, you're on 17 and I've got 16 attack here. What is going on? So maybe using the resources that you got around in front of you and going for the board clear. That also might want to make you think about, well, is Danger Room the way to go? Just let Enchantress wreak her havoc, as Andy describes, and just go for the board clear on your turn, and perhaps just look at a Staff of the Forgotten one or a Seething Corruption and fire it off on your go.
Yeah.
One thing I did come across that I thought might be an interesting one to look at was the Goliath Fighter from Tomb of Annihilation. Are you familiar with this one, dude?
Only from what you've just told me before we started recording.
Yeah, so this guy's a 3-cost fist. He's 021, 022, 133. He's got experience, but then his game text also reads, while Goliath Fighter is active, at the end of each turn, if 2 or more opposing NPC characters' dice were KO'd, Goliath Fighter gains an experience token. So the nice thing about him, particularly if you're using the Danger Room approach, where you're killing things on their turn and on your turn, is that stat boost, unlike Orc Knob, where it only happens when on the turn that they're KO'd, that stat boost will accumulate and keep accumulating.
Yeah, and the more it accumulates, the harder it is to shift, isn't it? Because it's +1 attack, +1 defense for experience.
Yes, that's right. And equally, if your opponent's using any monsters, which is not unfeasible in this day and age, where teams quite commonly have Yuan-Tis, pseudo-dragons, golden dragons, then he'll accumulate more experience from their death also.
Yeah, so you could just sit there and slowly tot up to 20 and then push them over.
Yeah, absolutely. So rather than trying to get your Orc Knob big just in the turn and do it in the turn that the KOs are happening, maybe someone like the Goliath Fighter, if you're relying on the sidekick push from Instant War, he'll just grow and grow and grow until you're ready. Was something I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Another one that you mentioned in a similar vein, that's trying to go with the KO aspect, is the uncommon fix-it smashing style, where when a character dice is KO'd, Mr. Fix-It gets +2 attack and +2 defense until the end of turn. So if you've got Enchantress out at a 6 cost, this is also a 6 cost. So you're going to have to run it pretty lean and be just ramping like
a maniac.
A maniac indeed, to get these 2 6 costs through. And then even then, if they've got sidekicks out and they're not getting knocked out, that's Yeah, that could rack up if he's on his top base. That's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 for just the 3 sidekicks they've gone through, and then she 5, 6, 6.
Yeah.
So potentially you could get lucky and swing through with just those 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And the difference between him and the Orc Knob, of course, is that he starts on such a beefy attack, and so the KOs are more potent when they're adding to him. And he's +2/+2 rather than the Orc Knob is a bit more weighted in defence. He gets +1/+2. Yeah. So if you're up to the ramp challenge of buying 2 6 costs, which, let's face it, it's not the most difficult. It's not as difficult nowadays as it used to be. That might be a way to go, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's protection as well. I mean, what you've got is if you stick with Uncommon Danger Room, you can get pinged on your turn. So if I had Enchantress in the field and then I play the Uncommon Danger Room, my opponent, if he's canny enough, is going to keep Bolt back, and if there's any form of ping mechanic, be it Jubilee with Professor X, Magic Missile.
Yeah.
I'm just going to flick her off and make you re-roll her again. Well, no, then she's not going to be there for my turn, so I'm not going to have to worry about any kind of fielding or getting blanket damaged until next turn, and I'll just do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely things to be looked at. I mean, you went straight for my favourite card,
the new Black Widow.
Yeah.
Black Widow boobs.
Yeah. But then she's also a risk for you if your opponent's got that new promo. So some form of additional removal that's not a damage removal might be worth looking at. So Capture Blob, bloody 3-cost Shriek. Pains me to say it.
Whoop.
Yeah.
I was having a quick look because with that Black Widow, because the Enchantress, the wording's quite clever, because it's like, so when the opposing character dice is fielded, that die deals 1 damage to all other opposing character dice.
Oh.
So anything that your opponent's got that is protecting them from your dice, it's not your dice that's doing the damage, it's their own dice.
Oh, that's a good point.
That Black Widow is damage done by opposing abilities.
Yeah, so
I'm guessing it's still the opposing ability that's doing the damage.
Yeah, so that's like Lantern Ring used to do, where it gave the damage to the dice attacking rather than coming from the Lantern Ring itself, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, or...
but this one's giving it to your opponent's dice, so it's like, I can't think of an example, but if your opponent's got, like it says, like Dum Dum Duggan, I think he protects the sidekicks from your opponents, and I think that is just character dice and abilities, but you get the idea. If it's got something that's just protecting from your opponent's abilities, then it's not your opponent's damage done by your opponent, then it's not damage done by your opponent, it's damage done by your own dice. So that could get a way around some things.
Yes.
If I'd have thought about it sooner, I'd have got some examples, but I just thought of it when you were talking.
Sure. One other thing we were discussing around sort of team building here was spamming your actions. So if you were using something like the Goliath fighter, where you wanted to do it turn after turn for 2 or 3 turns to build up his strength, then Super Rare Mr. Miracle might be a way to go. He gives action dice boomerang. So if you wanted to just keep getting your instant wars and your uncommon danger rooms back into your prep area for a reuse next turn. Tabaxi Rogue is another obvious fit.
Yeah.
For the instant war, we all know what that does. But also his or her, its global might be handy, because you could force your opponent to reset their bag to increase the chances of there being sidekicks in there to be fielded.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Golden Wise, I know Stu said about modern, but Golden Wise, the white tiger global, so you haven't got to wait for instant war to kind of cycle round. You can play a fist, at least they must field a sidekick that turn. It's not May, they must field a sidekick from their use pile.
Yeah, so then it kicks it off, 1 damage to everything while your danger room's in effect, clear the field down. I mean, if we're talking golden, though, I might be inclined to, if you're using instant war with Enchantress, I might be inclined to forget about the danger room in terms of getting it done on their turn, drop down to something a little safer like Staff of the Forgotten One or Seething Corruption, which is only on your turn, but obviously more in your control. Then you don't have to necessarily protect yourself so strongly against it. And I don't know, I'd look at something like X23, super rare X23. So clear that field down, fill your opponent's prep area, and then attack with the X23, which I think, I haven't got it in front of me, but doesn't you roll all the dice in all the prep areas, and she gets something like an attack bonus for everyone that rolls energy or something?
Something like that, isn't it?
Hang on.
It's a bit hit and miss, but...
Get the sidekick app up.
Here we go. Blades of Rage.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, so when X23 attacks, roll all dice in all players' prep areas. For each energy rolled, X23 gets +2 attack. Count energy symbols, not faces, that show energy. Turn all roll dice to the respective prep areas. So you could easily end up with the buff of +2.
Yeah, and if you're
knocking all these sidekicks out and everything else.
Yeah, if your opponent's rolling sidekicks and then KOing them from Instant War and Enchantress, that's the chances of them rolling energy are higher, aren't they? Of course. So if we were doing Golden, I'd look at something maybe like her. But Stu, obviously you're looking for Modern right now. So yeah, that's about as far as we got there, Chief. I hope there's some little ideas in there. You've probably already thought about the ramp. I would probably say that Ort Knob. I mean, I like it. I've obviously been playing with the card myself lately, but I might go for something that the resources are a little bit more in my control and not relying so much on what my opponent's got in the field. Because I was finding that people play lean, they play 3 or 4 dice, even with Instant War in the mix. You just might not get that fighting strength you're looking for. So I'd look at something like the Goliath Fighter, or boosting my sidekicks, or giving a stat bump to everything. You
mentioned the Poison Ivy.
Oh yes, I did. Sorry, that's a good point. And so this is
a good shout.
She's a very popular card with me at the moment. She's a budding interest. She's a 4-cost mask. 012, 024, 136, but a game text reads, while Poison Ivy is active, when an opposing non-villain's character dies KO'd, its controller loses 1 life. So I've got her in my Ort Knob team, and I just drop her in the field if I know my opponent's obviously no good against a villain team, but if there's certainly a lot of sidekicks knocking around or non-villain characters, I drop her in the field for just a little bit of extra punch. Because it's lose life, it's harder to counter.
Yeah, and with Huntress as well, the Huntress that when your opponent feels a character, deal 1 damage to an opposing character dice. If you had all 3 of them out, your opponent would be pulling their flipping hair out.
Yeah, it'd be pretty prohibitive. They wouldn't have a character at all. I used to play.
I field me Mimic. I field me Mimic, but he's going to get pinged off. Everything's going to take some damage.
Yeah.
And then I lose a life for everything that's been KO'd.
Yeah.
All I do was field me flipping ramp.
Yeah. Can't get me spot out. Can't get anything out. Leave me alone. Can't have any sidekicks. Yeah. I used to play a Golden team, admittedly, but I used to play an Uncommon Danger Room team. Andy, you faced against it a few times. There was that Huntress and Static, the one that does 1 ping when your opponent rolls 2 or more dice, and just be like, right, Uncommon Danger Room's active, so kill that, kill that, and just really keep that field, your opponent's field, right down all the time. That lacked punch, though. That was always a problem for that one.
Yeah. If you got those bits out, it's going to be really prohibitive, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the problem. I'm the kind of Johnny player that falls into this trap all the time. That once you're in a position where you're looking, your combo is 3+ dice to be effective, you're suddenly in a tricky spot because you just can't compete against people who are racing to 2-cost strategies like Yuan-Ti and Suda Dragon, or using Ring of Winter for fast dragons and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Which is a challenge, will always be a challenge. So what I do, which is proving challenging, is I go to the control first and then try and move to my win condition, but then you're playing on the back foot all the time. So it's a really interesting card, and I hope we give you some ideas that you can build something out of. But I think, Stu, you might be suffering from the True Mr. 6 syndrome. I don't know how else to put that, really.
What a nice thing to be suffering from.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, mate. True Mr. 6 syndrome, what it is you have shaggy hair, bushy beard, Adidas,
It's everywhere.
And a general grumpy stroke salty attitude to everything all the time.
Put a Venerable Dreadnought on the team, that'd be a good idea.
Oh, jeez.
And Shriek.
Yeah. And that new Scarecrow that I think is going to be really annoying.
Yeah, there you go. There's 3 your cards. Enchantress, that's 4. Ultraman, that's 5.
Beholder and Imprisoned.
Beholder, Imprisoned. There you go. That's half your team.
Yeah.
PXG. There you go. There's all your 8 cards.
You're sorted. Yeah. What are you doing? Even playing modern? Build a golden team out of it.
Yeah, Parallax. 8 Parallaxes. There we go. I think we've
sold
milked this one dry.
Yeah, we've sold it. We've not even looked at like new Justice stuff that might help you out with that. There's probably some stuff in there.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to wait through a few years for that, so we're probably best to not go into it.
Yeah, I'll only annoy Stu. Yeah. You could always put a Kingpin on the team.
Message received?
Yeah. All right, Stu, I hope that's helpful. And folks, I hope, if anyone's got any suggestions for Stu's uncommon Enchantress, Danger Room, and Instant War combo idea, then fire them over to us and we'll read them out on the next episode. Yes, welcome back, folks. And at this point now, I'm going to hand over to my esteemed colleague, Mr. England, or momentarily, who's going to pick up this segment. It's a Q-Brand segment. This marks the return, or part 3. How do you want to describe it?
The exciting conclusion
of the Global Reverscalation segments. So if you're just joining us for the first time today, and you've not listened to previous episodes and don't really know what this Global Reverscalation thing's all about, my man Andy here likes to go away into his Q branch and tinker around with random quizzes and games and challenges for me. And the most recent one has been to take card titles and subtitles, record them, reverse it. This sounds very convoluted, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud. Then get me to repeat the reverse version, flip me back around to then see how accurately I've got it. Does that sound right?
I think it's explained that very well.
Well, thank you very much. I do try. But it's with a bit of a twist, today's segment, isn't it, my mum?
It is, because we asked you guys out there to have a go as well. And after a fair little bit of cajoling from Chris, we had some entries.
Yeah, I went old school salesman.
You did. You didn't do too bad, though, eh?
Started canvassing people. Hey, where's your entry? Come on. Yeah. So you have once again given me a number of audio files with strict instructions not to listen to them until we sit down and record this evening. So I'm now going to hand over to you to take control of the segment, and I will follow your lead, good sir.
Okay, the first thing I've said, I may have not told the truth about the one that we sent out to everyone. It might not be a Dice Masters card.
Really? Well, what is it then?
We're about to find out. So we had entries in from 7 people, well, 6 if we don't include you.
Sure.
People, and I've kind of racked them up in order of what I think is the best, starting with you, which is the worst.
Is it really?
So I thought what we could do is we could work our way through. Well, we'll work our way through 7, because number 8, I'm not sure what planet they're on. But what we do is, if you go into, we'll have to do this simultaneously, and then I'll edit in afterwards. I hope everyone appreciated the editing that the last Global Reverscalation segment took, because that was an effort and a half. And was it the Sunday? It was on the Sunday just before we were about to publish it. I was getting you to send me audio clips on your phone because it hadn't worked at all, and I had to redo it all. And so that's why it goes loud and quiet. But I'm sure you probably didn't notice that. So go into file 1.
Okay, file 1, and this has got my name in it. It says Chris and Chris Reverse. So shall I play the original first?
Yes, let's have a listen to that one.
All right, let me just take my earpiece off.
Ael, schnö, schnam, schnja, het sues, schnü, staladnip, het schnat.
Het schnat. Where am I? Okay. And then this is... Go on.
Yeah, so that's your reversed all kind of put in together. What I have done is, because it was 3 different segments, I've lumped it all in together to make it easier. So let's hear if we can work out what you're saying.
Okay, so this is flip round. This should be clear as day. Well, what I thought was a card title and a subtitle, but now appears not to be the case.
No.
Okay, so here we go. So yeah, I can't make any real words out of that at all, my man. I don't know what what that is. I'm not even entirely. I'm not convinced. You've actually flipped me.
Not convinced you were sober when I texted you, asked you to resubmit them again.
I can't comment on that.
Okay. So there's Chris. So next down the line, we've got Zach. So I've kind of rated them. So he's like the second best one. So going to Zach.
So this is Zach from Dice Masters with James and Zach on the YouTubes.
Do check them out.
Yeah. So this is Zach's attempt to replicate.
Yep.
It just sounds like he's not speaking normally. You've just like slowed him down loads. Okay, and then this is the flipped one now. I play the reversed one, yeah?
Here we go.
Here we go. Right, let's see if we can make any words out of this one. Okay, is Zach calling someone a racist?
I really hope not.
Hang on, let me just. Yes, I'm pretty sure. Is there a card with a subtitle that this isn't a Keyforge card? Is it? Oh dear. So, okay. Well, yeah. Sorry, Zach. You're sitting pretty at second worst there. Bested in worstness by me only. So next we've got Superfan and our friend from Tailored Games down in Devon. Mr. Mark Sloan, who listeners might recall was a Mod Pod winner for our photo challenge last summer.
Yeah, it was. I'd forgotten about that as well.
Yeah, see, I'm like an elephant, mate. Always thinking, never forget. So here we go then, Mark. Let's see how Mark got on. So this is the replication. So what really makes that one for me is the chirping parrot in the background.
Yeah, live from the
tropical, from the tropics of Devon. Yeah. So a fair effort, Mark. Fair effort. So let's see if we can make out any real words here. That still sounds like mine and Zach's.
Have you not got it?
No.
I'm sure there's people out there that must have got it by now.
Hang on. Right, I can hear Dice Masters, the phrase Dice Masters, and I'm wondering, is it historical Dice Masters?
Dice Masters is in there, but I think we need to move on to our next entry, James Schwarzenegger Law.
I'm James.
See why I said
Hello.
that in a minute.
Right, okay. So there's 3 in here. There's 3 on James.
There is. Ignore the special one.
Right,
that's
okay.
Him going, Aquaman.
Aquaman. Okay, so here's James's replication attempt.
I have the Snadni. Hidna.
Get to the chopper. I am the governor. Sorry. I've got the giggles.
Wait till you hear this one.
What are we doing? Oh, right, hang on, let me get my composure.
I think you'll get it for this one. I think you'll get it.
Okay, here we go then. James is the one, let's go.
Andy, England, is the greatest race masters player.
You got it.
Aquaman.
So there's Andy is the greatest Dice Masters player.
It's close.
Am I close? I feel like there was an Andy at the beginning there. I heard greatest quite clearly and Dice Masters there. Either that or Andy is the greatest Aquaman. Oh my word. Right, on to the fifth best of our entries then. And this is Peter van der Velde.
Hello.
Out in the Netherlands. Peter, hoe gaat het met jou? Peter, a notable member of the community for keeping Dutch Dice Masters alive. In fact, folks, if you're in his neck of the woods in April, I forget the date, I think it's the 10th, they're having an MOPDM style Dutch event taking place, which we've helped him out with the prizing for. So if you're in the Netherlands or nearby, then hop on over if you've got the dollar for an easy jet. So let's have a listen to Peter's attempt then.
Hjälp. Tut som jag. Sebrug has see. Snalagni. He is not.
Oh, that sounded very thorough, very precise. Yeah, okay, let's see. Let's see if I can nail it. So this is a phrase, isn't it? You've not done a card and subtitle at all.
No, it's a well-known phrase, said often.
Is it Andy's best days are behind him?
No, as I said, it's a well-known phrase that's said often.
Right. Is it Andy's mum loves Chris?
Close, but no.
Okay. Here we go then. Peter's attempt.
Andy England. He's sa racist. Harsh most player.
Well, that surely that's Andy England is Dice Masters' greatest player.
Oh, thanks. Nice for you to say.
Is that what it is? Is that what the phrase is?
The phrase is Andy England is the greatest Dice Masters player. And all these people agree.
Right, let's have a listen to Jocelyn's then. So Jocelyn out in Mississauga. Anyway, hi Jocelyn, another super fan.
Yeah.
Pleasure to have you on the podcast. Let's have a listen to your attempt.
Hajel som siat successor of see snelling it. He is not.
Another very thorough, precise attempt there.
Isn't it just?
Yeah, not much less kind of reckless abandon with which I did it. I even had a do-over.
When you listen to this, also work out that not only she managed to pretty much nail it, but she's also nailed the fact that it's in an English accent as well. She's even got the accent down.
Good skills, Jocelyn. Let's have a listen. Well, she is a colonial.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Andy England is for her races. Dice Masters. Yeah.
So I am.
There we go. And so this one here from you, this is what it should sound like.
Yeah, this is what it was. Andy England is the greatest Dice Masters player. There we go.
However, we've got two other entries here.
We got one more.
Well, you've done them both together, have you?
Yeah, well, they did it together.
So this is our world champion and first runner-up, Arjun Lucan, otherwise known as the Rolling Thunder Crew, or the Fart Podcast, as we like to call it. I don't know, did that get into our final edit? Or was that... am I referring
I think it did.
Am I referring to a private conversation that me, you, Arjun Lucan had that's not been shared with the world? So I don't mean that may sound more offensive than it is, but Arjun Lucan will know what I'm talking about if it wasn't in the original interview we put out when they came on and did the bar. So what's going on with Arjun Lucan's? Why have we separated theirs, Andy?
Because they just done their own thing.
Okay. Well, let's have a listen.
That's the law. Mr. Simmer. No, you're fancy, so you never know why.
Right, okay. And you flipped this now, have you?
I flipped it.
Let's have a listen.
Mimic Calvin Rankin, because he's everyone. Crew Mr. 6, Paul is dead.
Paul is dead. Oh, well, I don't. So, if there's any listeners out there who are Beatles fans, Lucan is referencing. Did we talk about this when I may have talked about this when I spoke to them? But they clearly know that I'm a big Beatles fan. So the Paul is dead legend is that's actually really good. Better than your attempt to convince the world you're better at Dice Masters than you are.
I mean, notice that Argy in that clip sounds a little bit like Kit from Knight Rider.
Yes, yeah. When I first listened to it just then as well, Lucan, until I quite realised what he said, it sounded really quite creepy, because to use my name, True Mr. 6, and Paul is dead, if you don't catch the Paul, it's it's a little disturbing. But so, back in 1968, here you go, patented Chris Tangent. This is probably why Lucan's done it, because he knew this is what would happen. Patented Chris Tangent, back in I want to say 60, no, it must be sooner than that. Maybe it was around 1967. Paul McCartney had a motorcycle accident while he was on holiday, and he ended up going to hospital. He'd cut his lip, he had stitches, I think he'd maybe broken a limb, and an American radio station, one of the small-town American radio stations, caught the story, but reported that Paul had died in the motorcycle accident. And there is now, as a result of this radio show reporting that Paul died, even though he didn't, there are people now, there's a conspiracy theory that the Paul McCartney we now know, who's out and about, touring, recording new albums, he's just had something out recently, painting, eating vegetarian food, all that good stuff, is actually an imposter by the name of William Shears, who was
detailed,
was a Beatles lookalike competition winner that the Beatles management and recording company found and replaced Paul with, because they were such a lucrative band they couldn't take the risk of Paul's death interrupting album sales. And further to that, pseudo-maniac Beatles fans who believe that Paul is dead have the firm, passionate belief that the other Beatles were leaving clues in their album covers, in their song lyrics, and most notably in a section of reverse speak that appears at the end of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
What a tangent that was.
Yeah. So, for example, if you take a look at the Let It Be album, John, George and Ringo all have white backgrounds behind their portrait, but Paul has a red background, which people have interpreted to mean that, dead, blood. The Abbey Road, the famous walking across the crossing in Abbey Road, there's a theory that George is all in denim because he's the grave digger. John's all in white because he's representative of God, the angel. Ringo is in a black suit with a white shirt and he's the undertaker, and Paul is there in the centre between the grave digger and the funeral director Ringo because he's been buried. They're two clues. Yeah, they're two clues. Yeah. So there you go, patented Chris Tangent, folks. I bet you didn't know you'd learn about that today.
I was going to say, it's probably one of the first tangents that was actually interesting.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, I'm the greatest Dice Masters player.
Surely camels in North America, that must have been an interesting one.
I must have switched off when you were doing that one. I can't remember it.
Yeah. I've educated far beyond the game of Dice Masters. This is a hugely educational experience. Well, thank you so very much, Arj. And Arj, of course, is saying mimic Calvin Rankin because I used him on my One Big Weekend winning team, as well as it appeared on his World's winning team. So there you go. There you go. All right, folks. Well, that there concludes the Global Reverscalation Challenge. Thank you, Andy.
For now, anyway.
For now, yeah, for now. Thank you for putting that together, mate. That was a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks.
Thank you.
To play that and get the audience involved. Thank you, folks, for those who sent a recording in. Absolute pleasure to have you in the mix and getting involved with one of our challenges. And thank you to Arj and Lucan for independently steaming off and doing your own thing.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to Zach, James, Mark, Jocelyn, and Peter for all of them thinking that I'm the greatest Dice Masters player. It's appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's apparently a lot of misguided listeners out there. Well, there it is, folks. Another episode of the Ministry of Dice podcast comes to an end. In the can, concluded, finito. Straight off my normal script there.
Done and done.
And yeah, but as a result of straight off my normal script, I kind of lost my way. I'm usually.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed.
Yeah. Hang on. I'll do that again. Well, we'll keep this bit on, but I'll do it again now.
Okay.
And sadly, folks, as all things must, this episode of the Ministry of Dice has come to an end. We hope that you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed recording it, and you'll be back in 2 weeks' time to join us for episode 43 of the Ministry of Dice podcast.
That's your age, isn't it?
43?
Yeah.
It is not my age.
I know, it's not your age. I was being mean, sorry.
Yeah, you were. Everyone's always mean to me all the time. Picking on me with beholder emojis.
Snap 6, snap 11.
Yeah. Where am I? Do we know what we're doing for episode 43 yet?
We don't know what we're doing until we start doing it.
No, that's true. I knew we were doing Global Reverscalation today. We certainly didn't know we were going to be talking about the Paul is Dead legend.
No, that's true. Well, we've milked the reverse ones for 3 episodes now. Kind of done that to death.
Yeah, we'll find something else.
Yeah, got a few ideas.
Okay, good. Yeah, I look forward to it. Well, the universe usually provides. We were at a loose end this week, folks, and then
the spoilers dropped like the day before. We're like,
bloody spoilers! Well, there's the 15 minutes we were missing. The universe provides. Don't forget, boys and girls, we're now putting out content on our YouTube channel, so please do head on over there. We've got back episodes of the podcast slowly getting uploaded one by one, and also games. We've been recording games and uploading them both with and without special features commentary. So please head on over to youtube.com/the Ministry of Dice. Give us a like and subscribe, and go check out some of the awesome content we're putting out there. Quick reminder, go check out the BritRoller6.com blog to see the tournament reports and teams from the 2 UK-based One Big Weekend events. With TJ, the figurehead of Scottish Dice Masters, did us a lovely write-up of theirs in Settlers in Hamilton, and then we've got my write-up from the Fanboy 3 One Weekend in Manchester.
Aye.
Sign-ups for the 2-team takedown tournament have passed, so if you've not signed up yet, you're too late.
Oh, topical, that one.
Yeah. I like to stay on the cutting edge of what's going on.
Quite a lot of Europeans, though, isn't there?
Yes, yeah. I can't. There was a mention on the Discord channel. I think they've got 8 of them are European based.
Euro.
Yeah, that's good news. Certainly will help out with time zone planning. Yeah, in the early, certainly in the early stages, if they're going to divide the brackets. So that'll be fun. But I bring it up because keep your eyes out, folks. I'll try and record my games, or maybe get you to come along and record them for me or something. I don't know. we'll
sort that out.
We'll sort it out. But yeah, in the meantime, I've been Chris, aka True Mr. 6.
And I've been Andy, aka Mozambique here.
I'm looting over there. Body armor, level 2. We'll see you in 2 weeks, folks.
Bye. Which one is it that you press KO? Just that's that one. Big chopper. Can't believe you never picked up on that. Pork nog, big chopper.
Is that the one I used? The big chopper?
Yeah, you used your big chopper.
I don't think I've ever actually read the subtitle, if I'm being honest, mate.